I'm going to say something that we all know, and that is that fast zombies are infinitely more terrifying than slow zombies. Hey, I'm James, and I'm here today to dork out about Dungeons and Zombies on Crumbling Keeps, the Dungeon Dorks. I first tried to record this episode yesterday, and I had a rousing good time until I went to check the audio and find that half of it was cut out. And not like the beginning half or the ending half, like half of every sentence. And that was a bummer. So we're going to give it a second go. I'm trying something kind of new here today, at least for this podcast. And that is I'm going to do a playthrough of a solo game. And the game I am going to do is called New York Zombies by the infamous Ways Unseen. If you don't recognize Ways Unseen, you very well might recognize The Lone Adventurer, which is the name he uses for his solo play YouTube, which I feel like we have similar taste in solo games, so I always enjoy catching some of his episodes. And of course, he's had Marching Order on his channel. But I'm going to say something that we all know, and that is that fast zombies are infinitely more terrifying than slow zombies. And it's really easy to get up and going, as you're about to see. And if you find yourself being interested in it during this playthrough, there's a link in the show notes of where you can grab a copy, and we are happy to send it out to you. Now, like I said, this is a new thing. Thus far, the podcast has been mostly game advice and theory and musing and things like that. And maybe this won't hit for everybody. Maybe you want to see more of it. Honestly, I would love to know. My email address is also in the show notes. Or you can just drop me a line at info@crumblingkeep.com and let me know what you think, because I do have other games I would love to give a go. But now that all of that disclaimers are out of the way and whatnot, let's dive into New York Zombie. We're going to start with the intro. Bad news. You're in Manhattan and it's overrun with zombies. You've been laying low, but now it's time to leave your sanctuary and make a break for the safety of the New Jersey refugee camp. It's been weeks since the outbreak occurred. The city streets, they're not getting any safer. More New Yorkers are getting turned every day. The number of zombies is increasing, and the army is moving in. To get out alive, you must make it out of Harlem, through Central Park, Midtown, and finally survive the Lincoln Tunnel. Good luck. You're going to need it. So on my first playthrough, the one that I'm going to say something that we all know, and that is that fast zombies are infinitely more terrifying than slow zombies. At the hands of a zombie snow leopard, it did not go well. Jimmy News did not live to fight another day. It was actually really fun. I was going to say it was sad, but it was really fun. And I am not sad that Jimmy News died. But that's yesterday. Let's get to today. We're going to get into character creation. You have a few traits: strength, agility, presence, toughness, and knowledge. That's it. The max they can get to is 4. And one thing I did not remember in yesterday's playthrough that I'm going to endeavor to do today, for every 4 enemies I defeat, you can add a +1 to a trait of your choice. I say that like I defeated 4 enemies. That's not true. The 3rd enemy killed me, so maybe I didn't forget it because I was too busy dying. So to make your character, you start off by rolling a d6, and that is going to tell you what your profession was. So if I have any of the same options that I rolled yesterday, we're going to re-roll. So I'm going to start and I'm going to roll a 6, which is going to make me a busker. So a busker has 2 strength, 2 agility, 2 toughness, 2 presence, and 1 knowledge. Those aren't too bad as far as stats go. I feel like he has a little bit of a leg up on my news vendor yesterday. Actually, they are semi-similar, I guess. The only difference being is that the busker has a little bit of knowledge. But what the busker doesn't have that the news vendor did is a pistol. He does not get the pistol, so no shooting from afar, but he does have a fire axe. And that fire axe does a d6 of damage. So that seems pretty important. And a map of Manhattan. Once per location, I can re-roll an event roll. Now that would be huge because the last game I played, when I rolled that zombie snow leopard, if I was able to re-roll that, my life would have been so much cooler. Let's see. Now, I also have a special. During a non-zombie combat encounter, I may avoid combat by testing presence TN14. And if I fail, I have to fight anyway. Which also would have been useful yesterday because the first combat encounter I had was a stray dog. And that stray dog definitely did some damage and put me on the way of dying. So without further ado, that's it. My character is made. We can now get into play. So our first location is Harlem. Oh, well, we should name our person, huh? And we should probably give him his hit points too. Hit points is toughness plus 10, so that's going to give me 12. So what do we want to name our busker? I think like a nickname would be good. Let's go with Toofs. 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 On account of Toofs has the most impressive grill. Not really, it just has really good dental work. And so no matter how dirty he may get, he opens his mouth and they shine brightly white. Toofs. Though unfortunately, Toofs hasn't seen much of his crew around because of the zombies, but he's still going to keep the name. So Toofs is coming out of his apartment in Harlem, and we roll a d6 to see what happens. So my first roll is a 3, and of course, that's a combat encounter. So Toofs is going right into it. And what's that combat encounter going to be? We have another table to roll on. That's a 2. And that is a rabid dog. Jimmy News also got attacked by a rabid dog. Apparently, there's a lot of them in Harlem. Okay, so Jimmy Toofs creeps out of his apartment, but he's a careful guy, right? With his life as a busker, he's had to be. Things don't always go his way. And so, as he's looking around, he sees, crawling out of an alleyway, a rabid dog. You can see the foam around its mouth. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and avoid that by testing presence. And so if I can roll a presence roll of, I believe it was 12 or above, yes, of 14, I can avoid this combat. So Toofs is going to try and slink away before this dog notices he is here and rolls a 7. Steps right on a piece of broken glass because that's everywhere nowadays as the world crumbles around us and alerts the stray dog. It turns snarling and runs toward him. So that's going to bring us into our first combat. So for combat, every time a turn happens, I'm going to roll to attack and I'm also going to roll to defend. Both of those things happen at the same time, at least as far as I understand it. So as this dog charges Toofs, he's going to pull out his fire axe, and that is going to be a strength-based roll. And the default TN target number is 12. So he's going to swing his fire axe at this dog, and he's going to roll a 4. Not great. And the dog is going to try and bite him on the leg. And so I need to roll to defend that with my agility. And again, the target number is TN12. My agility is 2. So that kind of gives me a little bit better than a 50-50 chance, but I just rolled a 4. So 2 swings the axe downward, and the dog closes distance way too fast. The axe clatters on the ground as the dog runs underneath it and latches on to Tooth's leg for D4 of damage. So that's going to be 2 damage. That's going to take me down to 10 health. The dog is latched on to Tooth's leg and it starts to shake. Tooth brings that axe up again, yelling in pain, and brings it down. And I roll a 5 plus 2 is 7. That's going to be another miss. Just hits the ground again with it. The dog's just like inside of the range of the axe. So it's an awkward angle to hit, especially as it like tries to shake his leg and is like yanking his head left and right. But I do manage to defense. So I didn't hit him with the axe. Tooth kicks him off my leg and it tears some flesh away, but I don't suffer more hit point damage. But at least Tooth has some range on it now. He backs up a few steps, puts the axe on his shoulder, and swings it downward as the dog, undeterred and rabid, approaches again. Ooh, and Tooth misses and does not avoid. The dog leaps, bites the arm that is swinging the axe, and knocks Tooth over. The dog is now on top of him for 3 damage, knocking me down to 7. I am almost lost half my hit points in this first encounter. Tooth is gonna take the axe blade and try and bring it between him and the dog on his chest and push it upward. And he hits. He actually hits. And rolls a 3, which is how much health the dog has. So that means I'm going to successfully kill the dog, but I still have to roll to defend because those two things happen at the same time. But I managed to this time. I roll 16 plus 2 is 18. That's more than enough what I need. So as the dog is going for my throat, I have a hand on either side of the axe blade and I wedge it up into the dog's throat. And I crawl out from underneath the carcass, woozy from a little bit of loss of blood. So now I have a choice here. I could stay in Harlem and roll another encounter. And it's possible it could be not a combat encounter, and I could actually maybe find some things that I could use, right? Or I can move on to Central Park, the next spot. And now I believe the farther I go, the more dangerous this gets. Tooth doesn't really want to stick around Harlem. Tooth wants to put as much distance between Harlem and himself as possible. So after he catches his breath, he takes the alleyways to Central Park. Now, since I'm arriving at a new location, I have to fight some lurker zombies. Every time you get to a new location, you have to do that. The one thing I didn't find in this game is if your risk level starts at 0 or 1. Because I'm a glutton for punishment, I'm going to pretend it starts at 1. So as I make my way into Central Park, I hide behind a tree and start scoping out the area, looking down one of the many pathways. And I see a dead body there. At least, maybe it's a dead body. So Toofs gives like a kind of like bird-like whistle to see if it reacts at all. And it doesn't move. But maybe it has something Toofs can use on it, but maybe it's a zombie. So Toofs tries to quietly sneak up on this dead body. And as he gets closer, he realizes it is indeed just a corpse. And from the looks of it, if it did have anything, it's been picked over. But Toofs didn't realize, because he was putting all his energy into sneaking up on this dead body, that an actual zombie has walked up behind him. So that's my one lurker I need to fight this round. So he turns, swinging the axe in a wide arc, and clocks the zombie. Just as the zombie latches onto him with its long fingernails scratching at him. And what just happened is I won my roll to attack, but failed my roll to defend. So the good news is I rolled enough to kill this zombie. I rolled 6 damage. It only has 3 hit points. So he slices that head off. But the zombie has managed to do 4 points of damage. That is going to get me down to 3 health. That's terrible. And so, frantically, Toos looks down at his arms where he's scratched, and is that a bite? Did I get bitten? Because this enemy was infectious, I have to roll to find out. So I roll a d6. On a roll of 1, I am infected. So he searches those wounds. He's looking, and they're just scratches. He's pretty sure they're just scratches. He doesn't think he's infected. I rolled a 5. So Toos is safe for now. But now it's time to explore Central Park. So we're going to roll to see what happens while we're here. Hopefully it's a 4, 5, and 6, and I get an event. It is not. It is a 2. It is going to be another combat encounter. Toos is not lucky here. And so I'm going to roll again on the combat table for Central Park. Okay. This is interesting. Oh, and not great. Okay, so he's creeping down the paths of Central Park, hiding behind a tree here and there. He's taking his time. His anxiety is racing, and he wants nothing more than to run full blast through the park. He's got to make it to Midtown if he ever hopes to get out of here alive. But he manages to quell that fear enough that he walks through cautiously because he knows if he runs, he's just going to be a bait for this place, and it's got to be crawling with zombies. And so he gets to about the center of the park, and he's peering out, and he sees a woman out there, and zombies are landing on her arm. Any other time, he wouldn't have thought twice about this. She's obviously feeding the pigeons. Until she turns around and he sees her decaying face, her left eye drooping out of it, and the skull of one of the pigeons. It is a zombie pigeon lady with zombie pigeons. Now, these zombie pigeons are going to do 1 damage to me every single round, which is not great, right? So, we gotta hope that we can do it in quick. All right, so we're gonna roll to attack. So he runs forward as the pigeons start to swarm him. He's pretty certain that if he takes the lady out, the pigeons will stop attacking him. She has to be controlling them, right? Because there's no way he can kill all the pigeons. If that's not the case, he's gonna die. So he's got to try. So he swings his axe at the lady, missing. However, the pigeons swarm around him, pecking at his flesh. He manages to get out of her reach. So I'm only going to take the 1 damage from the pigeons. I missed my attack, but succeeded on my evade. But I am down to 2 hit points now. So this isn't great. He's winging his axe wildly, trying to make distance, trying to get room from this pigeon swarming around him. And he focuses back in on her. He's feeling woozy. He's not doing great, but he knows he needs to take her out. He runs toward her screaming, not caring who he alerts in the process. Axe over his head, he brings it down toward her. That is cockeyed. Oh, and then I rolled a 1. There's no crit fails or critical hits, but that does mean I failed. But then I rolled a 20 to evade. He's still going to take the 1 point of damage from the pigeon swarm, bringing him down to 1 health. He knows he doesn't have time. They're pecking at his flesh. His axe swing missed. He was nowhere near her. She was unable to attack him or even try because of the distance. He's not making the best decisions. Between the fear and loss of blood, he's just doing whatever he can to survive. And so he has 1 health right now. I'm going to say if that he kills this pigeon lady in this attack, that the zombie pigeons won't attack him this round, and he'll be able to live. Why? Because I'm playing solo. No one can tell me not to, and I think that's more interesting than knowing I'm going to die this round either way. Okay, so both hands above his head, the fire axe raised high in the sky, screaming, running toward her, tears coming down his face. He swings. He hits for d6 worth of damage, and that's 4. That's going to be enough to kill her. Can he avoid her attack? Let's roll the dice and find out. Come on, agility. Bet you're really curious what I just rolled right now. That's the problem with me not having any video on these dice. He runs toward her, screaming, crying, and swings the axe downward. Her hands reach out toward him, right toward his throat, the fingernails growing into gross talons. She cackles, the only cackling zombie I've ever heard of or seen. She cackles as she does so, and he can feel the nails on his throat just as his axe connects with her head, splitting her down to the chest. He yanks the axe back hard and pulls it out of her body, and she falls. And he lives. He's got one hit point left. He's going to crawl around Central Park. He can't make it to Midtown like this. He has to find something, right? So I'm not leaving Central Park yet. I'm going to roll for another event in hopes that something good happens because I know when I leave, I'm going to have to find another lurker. And honestly, I don't think I'm going to make it. So let's hope for a 4, 5, or 6 to keep Toofs going. And that is a 3, which is another combat encounter. He's hoping to find any supplies he can. And that is not what he finds. Out of the brush, he hears a hoarse growling. It's like whatever's making the noise, its throat has been shredded. And out of the brush comes, from the Central Park Zoo, a zombie snow leopard. Toofs starts to cry. He's like crawling on the ground at this point. He rolls to his back, axe held in his hand. Maybe he'll get lucky, but it's not looking good. As the zombie snow leopard charges, my roll to attack is successful. My roll to defend is 2. Barely. I got 11 exactly after I add my stuff. Okay. The zombie charges him. He swings the axe for a total of 6 points of damage, was exactly what the snow leopard has. He cleaves it into the snow leopard in pure desperation and kills it, cutting off its head. Toos has seen enough zombie movies, right? He knows you have to destroy the brain or sever the head. In a daze, he continues to crawl. Huh. And he rolls again and gets an event. So hopefully we're going to find something good here to keep Toos going. He continues to crawl, and I roll on that sub-event table. And he sees it in the bushes. It looks like some kind of shed. He calls himself to his feet and walks over to the shed and remembers that he has a map and could have avoided some of these encounters and failed to do so. Probably would be doing a lot better now if he didn't, but that's in the past. He gets to the shed and he bends down to try and heft open the metal door to it, and he sees the padlock on it. Fuck, he thinks. He gets down on his knees. Maybe he can unlock it. He's going to test knowledge TN 10. I need to roll an 8 or above. And I roll a 20. He gets his picks in there. The lock clicks open. He takes it off and opens the door, and he crawls into the shed and grabs the first thing he sees, which is blessedly a med kit. He holds the med kit, crying. He sees a fire axe, but he already has one of those. And he sees a Manhattan map, and he remembers his and thinks about how useful it could be if he remembered to use it, or if his player remembered to use it. But he has the med kit, and that's fantastic. So let's see, what does a med kit do? Let's look at the little item list here. Heals D6 HP. Great. So he starts bandaging his wounds. Oh, and I just blessedly rolled a 6. He starts bandaging his wounds, and he even finds a little morphine in there. And he just takes a little, just injects a little, just enough to kill the pain. He doesn't want to dull his senses, but he needs to get out of here, and the pain is distracting. So I'm up to 7 health. So Toofs just got breathed new life. So with that, he takes a breather in the shed where he thinks it's safe and then makes his way to Midtown. So my threat level hasn't increased. If I roll a 1 when I'm looking for events, it increases. So right now, I'm still just fighting one lurker. So he gets into Midtown and is greeted by the one lurker. And feeling a little better about his life, he is going to swing that axe at it and he is going to hit and he takes out the lurker. Ooh, and I rolled a 20 to dodge too. This is great. This is great. He's getting his speed under him. He's had to fight some things now. He's learning the rules of the game. Takes the head off the lurker and enters into Midtown. So we roll for our event, and our risk level increases by 1. So that's going to put our risk level at 2 now, which means every new location I'm going to have to fight 2 lurkers. So he gets into Midtown and thinks about, does he want to search Midtown or does he want to move on? I rolled for an encounter and I just got that threat level rise. He's got 7 health. Can he take 2 lurkers with 7 health? Maybe. I think he's going to move on. I don't think he's going to try and salvage in Midtown. So his time in Midtown is pretty uneventful. He sneaks through the streets, keeping his ears open, staying away from any noises. He sees a zombie, he turns down an alleyway, and he comes to the choke point that is the Lincoln Tunnel, where 2 lurkers, because our threat level is 2, emerge. So I'm going to have to roll defense against each one at this point and kill each one. So this isn't going to be easy. Let's see what happens. So he stands there, waits until the first lurker gets close enough and swings his axe and hits. And only does a point of damage though. And he missed his evade. And that lurker does D4 worth of damage. So that's 3. That's taking him down to 4 health. And he's going to have to see if he's infected too. Um, so he swings the axe and he nicks it. He should have waited just a second longer, but he swings it in a full arc from left to right. And as it passes the zombie, it lurches in and grabs him. And he can feel it's either teeth or nails digging into his shoulder. Now, the other one, he manages to kick away from him. So at least he's not taking damage from both of them this turn. Okay, so next round. He's going to grab the zombie with both hands, and I did make my attack. I didn't make my defense. So he grabs the zombie with both hands and does like a kind of hip throw. Not that he knows how to do that. It was kind of instinctual, right? He does a hip throw, throwing it onto the ground, and picks up his axe where it was laying next to it and swings it into the neck of this zombie, severing its head. He does, however, take a point of damage. So he's down to 3 health again. He's not doing great. And then he sees the other zombie coming. Oh, and he did not make his defense for that either. He doesn't. Let's say he doesn't see that zombie coming. He's standing over his fallen foe. And just as he's going to turn to face Midtown and deal with the other zombie, it was a lot closer than he thought it was. He feels its fingers close on his shoulders, and he feels its teeth dig into his neck. I had 3 health and rolled 3 damage. Tooth's vision goes blank, and his last thought he ever had was, damn, I wish I had a better nickname. Well, this is better. I did better this time than the first time. I made it to the Lincoln Tunnel. And after the Lincoln Tunnel, there's just a final encounter. I would absolutely play this again, and I probably will, because now I'm hooked. I want to win the game. And it's kind of fun making up the narrative as you go along, as you can tell. Like a lot of things I said certainly weren't on the tables. It just gives me what I'm fighting or what I find. And narrating it kind of made it a more interesting story. And since it is a zombie game, it's not like there's a lot of people to have dialogue with, but that's fine. We're just a lone adventurer, TM, going through the streets of New York. I have to say, Ways Unseen, well done on this. This was a really great time. And again, if this sounded fun to you, it's not real expensive. And we have good shipping in the UK and Europe as well. So grab yourself a copy, check the show notes. We have the URL there to find it, the link. We have the link there to find it. And tell me what you thought of this episode. Would you like to hear me do more playthroughs? Or do you want to hear more about my dungeon theory? I mean, I'll never do just playthroughs or anything. It's not like I want to totally change the direction of the podcast, but I thought this was a kind of fun breakup of it all. And I realize it is going to be longer than my usual episodes, so that could play into it too. But certainly get at me, let me know what you think. My email is also in the show notes. And if you want, feel free to express your condolences for Toofs. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you have any questions about anything I talked about here today or on any past episodes of Dungeon Dorks, go to crumblingkeep.com/question and ask away, or just check the link in the show notes.